But what happened was he left and he wrote me off and I never saw him again.
Oh.
On a spiritual note, I get it. And I've gotten to a place where I can accept it mostly. And then there are moments, and those moments of not having it here anymore, it can hurt. You know, my mommy heart hurts.
Okay, guys, for
ladies.
years, your life has revolved around carpools, school calendars, and being needed every single day. Then suddenly, the house is quiet. Now, the empty nest can bring freedom, grief, identity loss, or all three of those things at once. So today, you are listening to the Menopause Love Lounge, where we're talking about what really happens when motherhood shifts in midlife and how women can reclaim purpose, passion, and of course, themselves again. So I'm being joined by the lovely ladies of the Menopause Love Lounge. How are you guys today?
Well, hi. I
Yay!
wish Karen was here. She needs to weigh in on this
I
topic.
know, I
Yeah.
know. Well, she still has her daughter living at home with her, I believe, right? So she might be looking at it a little bit different way, like was excited when she came back. She came back. Lori, you're looking feisty in your red, I must say.
Arr. Also, I feel like your hair is different. Did you get a haircut?
Okay. You love my shirt. That's what we were discussing.
Yes.
And your hair.
Yes.
And
yes.
your hair.
I'm
Yes.
feeling zesty, but not empty nesty. Because I went shopping, I got my hair done, and my kid is homesick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Going
Winning.
hard today. Hashtag winning.
Yes, I
love
am
that.
having it all.
You are having it all. So, yeah, we're going to talk about some empty nest syndrome today. And we're all going to talk about the emotional whiplash of watching our children leave home, some coming back, some leaving again, and coming back, and the unexpected identity questions that often surface from this afterwards. And then Ozzy's going to share some stats with us in Karen's absence today. And so we're going to really enjoy that. And then, of course, we have our favorite legs wide open section where we're going to play a really fun game. And so I'll tell you more about that shortly. Just have your paddles ready, ladies. All right. So let's dive in. Let's all talk about what this is like with the empty nest syndrome. Who wants to start? Ozzy, you just look start-ish today.
I'll
Start-ish.
start.
Ish.
Artish.
Guys.
Well, first of all, I don't like the term empty nest because I feel like there is a sense that, right, it's just a new beginning of something new. So empty nest doesn't work for me. I'm looking at it as the next iteration, the next chapter. However, I do know that first of all, I'm very close to it. I have a son who's 21 who went to college and now he's back. So now he's living with us. And then my younger one is graduating high school. And so the promise of the empty nest or the next iteration is has changed because I thought I was preparing for it. And so I think they're going to stay for a little longer. I think I've made this nest quite comfortable.
Too comfortable.
Anyway, but I can get in touch with a sense of the grief, right? Like I had a purpose for my children for so long, and it started when they both entered high school. I slowly and surely they no longer needed me, and so my role has shifted, and I feel that the grief in it. I do feel that there's that sense of they're going to leave and how are they going to do, and the worry that comes with that, and who will I be without having that purpose? Who will I be without driving them around? They're adults, and now what? And so I'm split. I go between, I love having him here, and I also love the quiet, right? On the other end of that is this sense of elation for my house being quiet, me being able to walk around naked, me being able to invite a gentleman over, and just having the space to myself. I have a pretty big house for myself. So it's both, right? It might not be this year, but it's definitely coming. as soon as they choose to find their own way. So that's where I'm at with empty nest.
So how do you prepare yourself for that? Or are you?
You know, it's just a lot of sitting with myself in the grief when it comes and it shows up. And it's also, you know, preparing and getting excited about what's the next iteration, what's next for me, what's coming up, what are some things I could think of, and getting creative with maybe I'll move to a different state, maybe I'll move out of the country. So it's thinking
Oh.
about that and
You're
getting creative.
becoming. Your next
Mhm,
becoming.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Love that.
Your second spring.
My second spring.
So good. Dawn, what do you have for us? What's going on with you?
Yeah, you know, when I was preparing for this, what popped out of my fingers as I was typing was when my mom became an empty nester. So my parents got divorced, I think my junior or senior year of high school. And so much of must have shifted for her at once. But I think she was super relieved, which actually felt really painful for me.
Mm.
I think she probably had lost herself in an abusive marriage and whatever. She was always a working mom and all the things, right? And when I left, I think she was profoundly relieved.
Hmm.
And then because they got divorced, then when I sprang back, it wasn't with her, and he couldn't have paid me to go back to her house. But I did go back to my dad's house for about a year after college. Yeah, I got my first full-time job, and I lived there for a year before I got married. And I got married very young, like very, 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 very young. So yeah, that's what sort of jumped out to me was like my mom's, and I'm sure she was probably like perimenopausal, right? Was all the things we talk about here, just overwhelmed and in the weeds.
Yeah.
Um, I have no desire to be an empty nester anytime soon. I still have an 11-year-old daughter, and I would still at 45 like to have another child. So we're going to see how that goes. Because I actually just feel like as a parent, I just sort of in the last few years found my groove and am the most present parent I've ever been. And I'd like to be in this experience longer. And what also stands out to me about this, and I think about it all the time, is the more independent my very capable 11-year-old daughter, you know, firstborn daughter things, right, is, thank God I love my husband and like him because there's just more space. We still can't walk around naked all the time, right? But that's like the thing that changes the most, I feel like, when you become a parent. It's like the walking around naked piece. But she was at a sleepover last night because that's a thing. And like, gosh, just thank goodness I like him. And I think about all of the women who are getting divorced or who are transitioning and maybe are with a partner who they don't enjoy. I think it's a very different ride depending on where you are in your relationship status also.
I agree.
I do watch my like closest, dearest friend whose boys, she's got 2 boys similar to you, Ozzy, and one is graduating from high school this year. And then she just already is in all this grief all the time. All the time she's grieving things already. And we're going to get together for a couple of days. We're going to meet at the beach for a couple of days, which we have never done before. But it's like her boys don't need her as much. And so now here she is. And I think she's really panicking about it. So, yeah.
Can I make a confession about walking around naked?
Yes.
Just a little commercial break. I was with all my children this weekend, and they make fun of me for like being naked around them. They make fun of me for it, not in a mean way, but they're like, "Why is mom always naked around us?"
Like fully nude,
and I like fully nude. Yeah, like fully nude. And I realized that I have this like primal desire to be naked around my children in the sense of like they're my babies. And I like
there's
to
some
me that's
resistance.
like a primal mothering instinct to be. I mean, I don't need them to be naked. Right? Like it's not at all sexual. Okay, let me just say, but there's like I'm the animal that created you. And you literally are of me. You came from me and you have access to all of me. It's weird. It's primal. Like what they were asking, I had to ask myself, like, why do I like being like, it's like, I don't want to wait and get dressed to go be with them. Like, I want to go be with them as soon as I possibly can. Like,
it's
love
weird. This.
It's
My
weird.
goodness, you're amazing.
It's
so
weird.
I also am naked in front of my child. Like if she's in our room all the time. My husband is very modest, though. Very, 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 very
It's
modest.
different, I think, for dads.
Yeah, she's a girl, right? He's a man. Yeah, but I have a daughter, and she's only 11, so we're just starting to get to this point where she's modest behind the door, right?
Funny. I think it's so funny how there's all different times that it becomes odd or weird with our kids, and of course, depending on who they are too. I remember that very early on with my older son more than my younger one. I remember taking a bath with Hunter when he was probably like 5 or 6, and he was sitting down at my feet in the bath, and I was just sitting there reading a magazine. He was playing with his toys, and then there was silence, and I put the magazine down, and he was just like with his mouth wide open, just looking at my crotch, like,
Is
"What?"
that?
And I'm like, "Time to get out."
Where's your penis?
Bath time's over.
That was the first. I was like, "Oh, that was weird." He was looking at that too intensely, you know?
Yeah, that's when my bath stopped, when the look was there. I'm like, okay, enough of this.
Yeah. Wow. Tricky.
That's funny. So funny. Juny, why don't you share with us?
This is all tapping into some stuff here. I got to be honest with you, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. I
because mine
anticipated
was was a mixed bag, and yeah, it's been tears are gonna come.
Oh, there we go.
They're welcome.
Yeah. Because, well, first of all, I never wanted kids. It was just not on the radar. And then I chose to have a child and had a very challenging child. We're going to have cliff notes here, and it's still going to be impactful. At least I hope so. Suffice it to say, he was supposed to do the typical high school thing, and he chose to drop out really early on. And again, long story short, he left my house way before I expected, a couple of years early. So I had there's a saying, Jewish saying, we plan and God laughs, So all the plans went out the window. There was such a mixed thing of, yes, I get to have my life back on some level, to be really honest. Like, freedom was always important to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I had just left my husband. I am starting fresh. I have my wings, but my kid was everything to me. So I remember this moment of purpose and lack thereof. It's like, I don't have to think about his vegan appetite and what's in the fridge, and I don't have to think. I didn't have that brain that had to be on all the time for my kid.
Yeah.
But the tricky thing around this was, yes, he left, and I was so excited for him, for his new life. And that, again, long story, that's all I'll say. But what happened was, he left and he wrote me off, and I never saw him again. And so that's been a huge spiritual journey of acceptance and trusting that the universe is playing out the way it's supposed to play out. So on a spiritual note, I get it. And I've gotten to a place where I can accept it mostly. And then there are moments that are just like the Easter Bunny, it's like all the stories, the holidays and the things I did with him. And those moments of not having it here anymore, it can hurt. My mommy heart hurts. And so while there was that transition of, cool, I've launched him, and in a way that was different than I thought, but launched him, and he is doing well. Thank God he's doing well. I didn't get to have that next stage of actually having him in my life. And so there's been this estrangement all these years. So through his dad, I know he's fine. But it's bittersweet. So while I rebuilt my life, there's always this piece, this empty piece of, I don't have my kid in any way.
Yeah.
So I've really had to just build my life and my next chapter. And that's why I do the work I do, especially with women that are starting over, whether it's with empty nesting or whether it's divorce. It's like, how do I have my extraordinary life? Because my life matters. And that's why it's like, sadly, I have the PhD in loss around my kid, and what it's like to actually wake up happy and have those moments of sadness and be able to hold both, because I hold both on a regular basis. So that's the cliff notes.
Yeah. And how old is he, Juny? Or how old is he now?
I realize he's going to be 30 this year.
Wow.
Yeah, he left at 16.
God.
And did he,
Yeah.
can we ask questions? Like, this is
Yeah,
obviously
sure.
very sensitive and this is new
Yeah.
information for me anyway. I don't know
Oh
for
gosh, I'm
everybody, but
sorry. I really thought you guys knew. Sorry. Yeah. No, you could ask me anything.
did he go live with his dad at that time or on his own?
No, it's going to sound crazy, but I knew he'd be fine on his own. He was more put together
Yeah,
than most
that's-
adults. So he took
Yeah.
off. It was the middle of Sandy. We just had the hurricane. We had no electricity. Everything was a mess.
Oh my gosh.
He took off with his dad, who he hadn't spoken to in a year and a half. So there was a
Wow.
theme there. His dad took him down to Miami. He already had a job set up for himself down
Wow.
in Miami, and moved to Miami on his own at 16, all by himself. But he did fine.
Wow.
And he continued
Wow.
to do fine, built his own business, built his own life. He stopped having support from us since he was 11 years old. Didn't want
Wow.
our money, cooked his own food, washed his own clothes.
Wow.
He was built a certain way. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
how, I mean, I know this is more than a 5-minute answer, but how did
Yeah.
you make your peace with that?
It's been a journey. I mean, the first few years were unbelievably torturous because that space, talking about an empty nest, it was like there was a huge gap in
That's
my
a
life.
big empty nest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm building my life, but there's like, what the fuck? Like, where's my kid? Like nothing, right?
Mhm.
So, so I, hey, look, I do the shadow work. This is what I do, so I don't just do it with my clients. I do my own work. So, I mean, I was doing my own work with, with mentors of my own, trauma therapists. So I did a lot of the psychological, emotional healing with people, but I really leaned into my spiritual path. And I remember going to this one satsang with my mentor, my spiritual guide years ago. I kind of laid out what was going on, and it was kind of a simple answer, but it was profound. It was like, we give birth to these kids, but we don't own them.
Mhm.
And our job is to take care of them and give them the opportunities. And if they stay, they stay. If they don't, they don't. But my life matters. For me to throw my life away because of what happened would be such a disservice to me and to all that is. So, so it's been a dance. And so, there were many, many years I couldn't even have this conversation. I can talk about it. And there were moments, like last week I was talking to Dawn and I was just like, I'm in my grief. This is a hard week because I had some grief, I had some loss last week. And so loss can tap into
It
loss.
opens it. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything that's there, it was like, I'm feeling it,
Mhm.
So my spirituality, my belief that all really is in service to us and that he is being taken care of no matter what is going on. And the story I tell myself and the meaning I give to it. And Ozzy too was in my court last week. Ozzy was there, listening to some of the stuff I was going through. I work that muscle of what's the meaning I'm giving to the fact that my son doesn't talk to me. That's just a fact. My son doesn't talk to me. I can make it, he's on his own and he's making a great life and he doesn't need me. I gave him strong wings. How awesome. Or I can give the meaning of, he's fucked up, he's mentally ill, he needs medicine, which is probably all true. But anyway, it's like, where am I going to land,
Did he give you a reason or did he never give you a reason?
Never gave me a reason. He just never talked to me again. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I have my stories.
Yeah.
I didn't give him the dog, which was my dog, like, is he gonna double down on that? Maybe. He's borderline. He's got issues, so where did he draw the line? What did he decide? I don't know. I don't want to say I'll never know, but I don't know. All I know is he's had some stories that he shared with his dad that are just not true. They're just not true. So that's
they're
where
true
it's
to
like,
him.
Exactly. So fact, not fact, what he's remembering, what I'm remembering. I do my best to just stay right here the best I can and watch the meaning I give to it.
Yeah, I just admire your process through it so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, just so much. And I think your story right here in this now moment on this podcast matters so much because this phenomenon of estrangement, I feel like has just taken our culture by storm.
Yeah.
And it became very, very popular, I think, to cut ties with parents, too much so. And, but I admire so much your ability to hold your own space and to claim your own life. And it's beautiful to be able to say, like, this is how he's finding his own window of tolerance, right? Like,
Yeah.
for him, this is how he's managing his window of tolerance with his own emotional
Yeah.
regulation, nervous system regulation. And that's
Yeah.
so sad, but what an ultimate gift as a mom to not collapse. I'm sure you have collapsed, right? But to not stay collapsed
Yeah.
and to not drop into blame or bitterness either.
Yeah. Thank you for
And
that.
yeah, and to just sort of admire him from a distance and to not make that into anything other than that. That is real hardcore momming right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that
That's
speaks
where
to
I
all
hang
the
my
work.
hat.
Yeah, it speaks to all the
Yes.
work that you've done, right? Like, I think it's okay if
Yeah.
you sat in bitterness for a moment, but then what I'm hearing from what you're sharing is that you get yourself back on track, right? It's this
Yeah.
phenomena that I often look at with human experience of, right? It's, again, I always say it's the both and, right? It's the humanness in us that just wants, like, when I hear your story, my heart just aches. But then there's also
Yeah.
the other aspect of that, the knowing, right? Like the spiritual knowing of they don't belong to us. And then there's also sadness in that, like, they don't belong to us, but like, wait, I understand, but like, right. So it's like this push pull with that polarity of both.
But there's a soul tie, right? No, they don't belong to us, but there is a soul tie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the ache of, like, I don't have a great relationship with my mom at all. That
Yep,
ache,
neither do
it's just like there's some things that are never restored on the human level, right? On the spiritual level, sure. But and
Yep.
I think, the same between mothers and their children, like, I don't know. There's a soul tie, and I think
Yep.
maybe I'm being naive, but there's always a human ache.
Always.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Always.
And again, the yes and it's like I'm so grateful that through the work I've done to be able to hold both, that I can really have the most amazing, extraordinary, love-filled life and be able to go, ouch, and that's why this work that the journey I've taken with, as Dawn knows, all the loss I've had since I was a kid has helped me move toward the work I do, to be able to hold the hard spaces for my clients that are in that pain and be able to go, yes, and be able to withstand that without getting pulled in or not being able to even offer them what's next.
And
there is a next.
Yeah. And I want to underscore something here just for our listeners, because it does seem sometimes that some souls have, like, really grief marked journeys.
Yeah, I signed up for that one.
Yeah, and yours really
Yeah.
is, right? And you just hear people who, like, it seems like everybody in their family has died, or, there really are some journeys that are just so profoundly grief filled, and yours is one of them. And it's what makes you, being with you, holding this space with you, just so remarkable. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for seeing.
For sharing that with you.
And I'm glad that I felt able to share it here, because as you said, Dawn, Oprah just did a whole thing on this phenomenon of estrangement and the worst thing is feeling like you did something wrong or you're alone, and there's a lot of moving pieces, but at the end of the day, ouch, can we have a conversation and can we heal?
Well, on the flip side of that, right? Like, on the other side of it, I've tried to have infinite conversations with my mom and they just don't go well. Like, it just doesn't. And so we found something. I don't know that we agree that what we're doing is working, but we spend holidays together. She comes to visit, to be part of my, and my kid FaceTimes her all the time, and it's not easy for me, but I really believe it's the right thing to do to maintain some level of relationship, as much as I can do and not lose myself. And I wish more people could do that.
Yeah. And sometimes they can't, or
And sometimes they
can't
can't.
yet. And that's where we need to have that acceptance and surrender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've tried, when I was younger, I tried with my mom, and it just, I just came to a conclusion that there's no, with borderline, right? She's also there. It's really hard to maintain a relationship with her. And so I just decided, for my own health, for my own being, for my family, that it was wisest to keep the distance. my heart is always open, and every time it's been open, it's just not. There's just so much resistance, or so many.
Noise.
I wish I had that. Let's figure out a way to make it work, right? My kids have never met my mom, and that's sad for me because they don't have that. But then on the flip side of that, well, then they also don't get the crazy part of
Right.
that experience, right? So
Yeah.
it's, if they choose to have a relationship with her down the line, then it's their choice. I never held them from that. I never not shared information about her. But yeah.
When we
Wow.
just kicked this empty nest syndrome to a whole
Well,
nother
whole
level.
nother
I
Lori,
want
you
to
raised your hand there a few times.
Yeah, I just want to ask you what you think of this idea. So I teach my clients that kids need 3 things from a parent. Number 1, to be seen and known. Number 2, unconditional love. And number 3, for you to model a great life, which is in regards to usually health, love, and, meaningful work. And I really hear from you, Junie, just I'm still reflecting on your story, that you have managed to do that from afar, which is really freaking profound.
When my head hits the pillow at night, and I could have said this from the very beginning, I know I was a great mom and I hit the marks. I stepped up and I did the work, and I was a phenomenal mom. And it's good to know.
You
Was
still
I
are.
perfect?
You still
Thank
are.
you. Thank you. Thank you. In fact, I want to share something with you. Rebecca from Sleep, our sponsor. So she's a dietitian. She knows supplements. She knows stuff. And we were at a retreat many years ago, and I was having one of those emotional things. It was like 10 years ago, and she came over to me, and I said, "You're a nutritionist? I think you should change your job," because this is what she said to me when I told her what was going on with my son Matthew, and I said, he always has to have a bad guy. He always has to have an enemy. And right now, I'm the enemy. I'm the one that he puts all his intense anger toward. And, and I was sharing, and she said, well, maybe that's your job, because you're the safest person to hold it. And in that moment, like, it was like, in that moment, I thought, I could do that. I could do that. I could be that enemy for my son if he needs that. That's now my new job for my son. And it lifted all the, it lifted so much of it, because now it's like, oh, okay, I'm able to give him this, because all the other people aren't safe to him. But I was always the safest person. So I hit the marks. I feel great about who I am and what I've brought. I still do the healing work. I'm grateful for you and Dawn and the remedies and all those things. And it sucks. At the end of the day, I don't have my kid, and I don't get to hear his day-to-day crazy or the ups, the downs, or whatever. But I kind of have him in a box. It's like the lid's kind of open. But overall, my life is so full, and there's a sliver that I'm like, oh yeah, it's still there. There's still that, like you said, Ozzy. It's like there's still something there, or Dawn, I don't remember, but it's like there's always a little something there, and my heart just loves. That's it. My heart just loves, and I really don't have anger. I just want him to be well, and he is overall. So I've done my job.
Beautiful.
He has a life.
Amen.
He's married.
Yeah.
He's got dogs. He's good. He's good.
These are good things.
Yeah.
I just want to add that I think the mental health piece is a piece that people need to hear and talk about, and understand that whereas we would love for our parents to give us being seen, unconditional love, and role modeling a great life, most people can't do that for anybody, no matter how much they love them, and certainly not with a mental illness. And so, we have to just include that there's, and like, I think, Dawn, you're sort of saying is like, my mother has special needs, right? And so we make accommodations, and some of our children have special needs, and we make accommodations. And Junie, you echo something I literally just said. It's so interesting. I was just with my mother and my daughter, who compete for my attention. And I was just saying, my daughter, I also have an 11-year-old daughter, and she is so mean to me, like so mean to me sometimes. often, I'm going to go ahead and say. And
Yeah.
I've just come to the conclusion that I'm the one she feels safest with, and that
There you go.
I am the sacrificial, whatever that is, the scapegoat that takes the sins away, that takes the pain away. And I can handle it. I can metabolize it as long as I don't take it personally or believe it. I actually can hold that rage, anger, confusion, blame, hatred sometimes, all of the things that
Yeah.
get aimed at me, because that is her expressing herself and unsuppressing her feelings, and with someone who she knows is going to love her unconditionally, because I do. And so you reminded me of that with what you said.
Wow. And what a gift to give to your daughter, to be that, where she can throw that at you, but you know your
Remind
truth,
me.
so you can hold it. Yeah.
Remind me, because I get
call me, babe. Call me.
it really feels like a whack-a-mole. Like she pounds me down and I pop back up. She pounds me.
I hear
It's a
ya.
lot
I hear ya.
sometimes.
Yeah. But the more we know our truth and the more we have our tools, and thank goodness we all have so many great tools, it helps. It's not, foolproof. It
100%.
helps.
And that's the reason I'm able to find the space that I have. It's sort of this unfortunate trickle down of mental illness, right? Because of whatever brand of mental illness my parents have. I don't want to claim this for myself. This is not what I'm doing, right? But I'm just sort of trying to convey an idea that it created a certain amount of mental illness within me. And I had to recover from that mental illness to have the capacity to stay grounded and to stay available on some level and to facilitate my daughter being available, right? But it did require me to take a lot of responsibility for the things that I had to recover from. And my life is better because I did so. So like my life is better because I did so. And I don't want to be angry or bitter. Like there's no way to live. Doesn't feel good.
Right. Exactly.
That's a
Our
bigger
life
ouch.
matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a big
Yeah.
ouch. Yeah.
Andrea, did we hear from you yet?
Yeah, what's
about
your
kids?
empty nest situation?
Well, I wasn't sure if Lori was fully done, but
well, I did not
never mind.
explain my nest,
for it.
but
Go for it.
should I? So
She
I
facilitated a whole nother
just-
branch of the podcast.
It was a whole other topic, but I have a 23-year-old launched in the world, which is a pleasure to watch. I have a 21-year-old about to graduate from college, and I have this 11-year-old still at home. And that is
Wow.
because I was scared shitless of an empty nest. Like, pretty consciously waited to the very last minute where it looked like I was going to start to free up, and then started all over again on purpose. Like, even had a miscarriage and went again to make sure I was going to have a child in my household, at least until I could. I'm like planning a 2 or 3 year gap before becoming a grandmother. Like,
Yeah.
very core to my identity to mother children as well as to be a business person. Like, they're like these competing and complementary tracks. Like, I've got my mom and my dad, and they both had both and both valued both a lot. And so I'm trying to have it all here. And I don't know if I ever will have. I'm not sure if I ever will have an empty nest. I would like to try it for a few years.
Oh,
No, let's not, like, because I'll just slot right in there. Y'all know I had a miscarriage last year, and Lori mothered me minute to minute to minute to minute to minute through it. It was profound. Like, so the amount to which you identify as a mother is
Me too.
helps plug a hole in my heart.
Oh, good.
just good.
And to your point, Dawn, again, I've been and to your question, Andrea, like, what do you do to prepare? You work on your fucking marriage. That's what you do to prepare, because there really will be a day pretty soon when my 11-year-old is off on her own and my adult children are probably living on their own with or without my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And we will just have each other. And I am investing heavily in still liking him at that moment.
I love that. That's a good move. It's a good move.
It is. Well, I'm a long-term planner.
Yes.
I like spreadsheets. Okay. Andrea, to you, my dear.
Well, I feel like mine has been a bit of the whiplash of like gone and back and gone and back. And I say that because, well, I got divorced in 2017 and I lived in Texas at the time. And so when we got divorced, my ex-husband didn't really want it, and it was my decision to do it. And we were still very close, him and I. We were, talking about divorce, but still like, hey, do you want to see a movie? So it was very confusing. I think it was very confusing for everybody. So when we decided to sell the house, my ex-husband was like, I'm just going to, take the kids and go to California because both of them were in the entertainment business at the time. We were going back and forth for auditions and things anyways, so it just made sense. But it didn't make sense at the time for me to go as well. So I stayed back. I worked on selling the house for 2 years. I just worked on myself and being apart. And, I really struggled with it. And then sometimes I didn't. I felt the freedom of it for sure. Like, wow, they're not even in the same state as me right now, And at the time, that would make my older one, he was, I think, 20, and my younger one, Grant, was 15. So old enough, I felt, to be okay and gone, but I would hear rumors from like friends and well, maybe not friends, but from like the baseball team and stuff like that were like, I can't believe, she's been away from her kids like that. So for me, I would come out to California once a month. I'd stay for a week. I'd stay with them and just really get my fill that way. And so that worked for me at the time until eventually I knew that I wanted to just be closer to them. So with that said, then I moved to California. But by that time, they were already kind of, branching out. And I remember, though, at first, they were still staying with my ex-husband. And when I would come to visit, I felt a lot of envy at that time that he had them in the house with him. He had to take my son places. And I was definitely just the visitor, coming in. And so that was difficult. And then when I moved here, that's when I said they kind of branched out. And even more so now, my older son got married this past year. He just bought a house last month here in California. And I'm very close with them. And so every step of it has been like this, you get close and then, he moved to the next area. And so that's been really difficult. I even relate a lot of that empty nest to him getting married and what that felt like, losing, not losing my son, but not being the most important woman in his life anymore. And so that was very difficult. So it's been this process of all of it. And although I've been like alone and not and alone and not, I do enjoy being alone now at times. I very much enjoy just not having to answer anybody, not having to make dinners or change the TV or having to even eat dinner myself if I don't want to. I might have some cookies instead, and that's okay. And so it's been good. It's, I don't know. It's hard to explain because I don't feel like it's been this total like, hole in me because they've been gone, because I do see them a lot. My older son, especially since my mom passed away in December, he's taken over that role of calling me every day. And it's been great. It's usually either on his way to the gym or on his way to get food, but I will take it. And so it's just, every day I get a call from him and we just talk about everything, whatever is going on. And so I'm fully up to date in their lives. I go on tour with my younger son, so I get that fulfillment there and I get the time to myself. So I think it's a win-win right now. Oh, wow. Well, that was amazing.
Yeah, a lot of life here. A lot of life here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Families, kids. It's a lot.
It is a lot. All right.
Messy human experiences.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what it is. And I think we covered a lot of them here because we have so many different areas of people going through different things in their lives. And it is a tough time for everybody right now in the world we're going through. So I think it's really great to hear what all of you had to say and all of your experiences. So thank you for sharing. So we definitely need to lighten it up a little bit. We're going to jump in shortly to some legs wide open. But before we get to that, we're going to check in with Ozzy and kind of find out how it is out there for others. You have a few stats for us?
Just a few. We'll start with that. There's studies that estimate that about 25 to 30% of parents experience significant emotional distress when their children leave their home. How do you feel about that?
I think we'd agree.
I think we'd agree. I would actually say higher than that, but maybe not after hearing everyone's stories, right? I think
significant distress. Yeah, no, that's maybe, but like I would want to overlay that with attachment styles. Like, what is the data on that? Like the generation's primary attachment style. Right. And I'm sure attachment styles shift. Like I'm sure there's like a pendulum or an undulation. If you're on YouTube, I'm making this
undulating.
But yeah, anyone who has a more avoidant or even a disorganized attachment style is not going to feel significant distress when their kid leaves the nest. They're just not.
Mhm.
Yeah, good point.
True.
Interesting.
Very true. So next stat, or actually research that's actually showing that mothers often report stronger feelings of identity loss than fathers, particularly if much of their identity has centered around caregiving, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That is the
With
role.
stay-at-home moms,
However,
especially.
I'd be curious to see, because I feel like those roles have shifted a bit by 2026. I see a lot of fathers that are home with their kids and raising their kids at home, right? So I'm curious if that
Well, I have sample size 1 to give you some feedback. My husband is very much parent, like on duty. I would say we have some non-traditional gender roles. He makes her lunch. He, like he does a lot of the momming. He does a lot of field trips. I don't like doing field trips. So he's like really engaged, and he's totally on board with us having another kid, but he also could have gone the other way. He would have been totally satisfied to like have a second spring.
Wow. And women, and by the way, women who tend to be more in their feminine core tend to have most women, actually, I would say, tend to identify their identity is tied to connection. So their role as a mother is a lot stronger, I think, than men. Men is purpose, right? Whereas women is connection. So it's an interesting research. The next one is midlife transitions, including menopause, career shifts, and changing relationships often occur at the same time children leave home, amplifying emotional impact.
Why?
Makes sense?
Makes sense.
It does.
And the
Our turn, our time.
Yeah.
And the last one is longitudinal studies, that's a tongue twister, shows that many women experience increased life satisfaction within a few years as they rediscover personal goals and independence. Whoop, whoop. So I think we eventually get there. We eventually get there.
Interesting.
We learn to get to feel satisfied, right? Like we learn to pivot and
it
embrace
takes a
life.
minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Those
That's
are good stats.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Really
Karen.
good. Yeah, she pulled those for us. Yeah,
She
there's so
did.
many things to think about with all of the empty nest, like how it affects marriages and partnerships once the children are gone, and how you have to redirect. And just like Lori said, really make an effort to take care of your marriage or your relationship now so that it is stable and steady when you move forward, because that hits you, right? Like a brick wall when you don't see it coming. So that's a fun thing. Well, all right, let's open it up, as we would say, legs wide open, to our fun little game we have today. Today, you guys, it's called Freedom or Freak Out. Okay, so and no, this is going to be a good one. We got our paddles. So freedom is going to be thumbs up. Freak out is thumbs down. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios, and you're just going to kind of let me know in the empty nest situation how you would react to this. All right.
Okay.
Number 1, walking past your child's empty room at night. Is that freedom? Are you looking at it going, woohoo? Or are you like, oh, freaking out a little? This is right in the beginning. Yeah.
It's
a little in
both for
between. I'm seeing a
me.
lot. Lori, you're freaking out.
Well, I just, I'm a working mom. So the night, like bedtime is my time. So I'm not going to be freaking out while I'm working during the day, but you just look out for me around 6 and 7 o'clock at night. All right, y'all?
Try walking
Just
by.
a prediction.
Try walking by a room of a boy that has really stinky shoes inside.
Freedom.
On the one hand, you're like, I miss him. But on the other hand, you take a nice
Oh,
sniff.
there
and
will
you're
be
like,
relief. There will be relief. I love what happens to the surfaces of my house when the number of children reduces. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, cooking dinner and realizing no one's expecting you to. Is that freedom? Freaking out.
We're all. I
pure
already don't
freedom.
cook dinner.
I already don't cook
'cause
dinner.
It's too much pressure. I cannot. So
And
like,
that's interesting
cooking
with you
dinner
both.
in this
with
group?
your 11-year-olds.
I cook dinner.
Oh, yeah, no. We have husband. We hired husbands for this.
Well,
we chose wisely.
I need to go to that employment office and hire one for myself.
Listen, I'm happy to help meal plan. I'm happy to help execute. I clean, right? I wash a lot of dishes. I load and
I
unload
do a
the
lot of
dishwasher. I
thinking.
clean. I do the laundry. Like I do a lot of
Mhm.
housework.
Yeah.
But planning and executing, like planning dinner and like initiating the execution, I'm just sliding out of my workday where I've done emotional labor all day. Like I have decision fatigue. I don't know. I need something mindless, not something where I have to like calculate and make sure.
Yeah. And it comes around so often and needs to be done every
day.
Yeah, 3 times a day. It's a lot of work.
And this is just interesting. I'm a creature of food habit. So like if it were just me, I would just eat the same things every day over and over and over again. You can't do that for a family. Like,
yeah. Interesting. Okay. Your grocery bill suddenly dropping.
Oh yeah, I'm
God.
sure. Oh my God. Cannot wait. I'm waiting for my therapy bills to go down. How many years?
Oh my God.
Okay.
All right. Booking a trip without checking anyone else's schedule. Meaning is that freedom? Or
Will that ever happen?
Dawn is sad.
Dawn, is this because you love the Disney cruise and you feel like you can't do it without your daughter?
that's it. Like, I think that like family vacations are some of my favorite days of my life. Like of my life.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Until
like
we have our retreat. Sorry to say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't love leaving my people. Like my daughter and I are going on a girls trip this weekend with a girlfriend and like we're leaving my husband home. That never happens. And I don't love it. I will love it, but like I don't love it. Like I'm
there.
Yeah, I'm a little anxious attachment. I like my people.
That's exciting though. All right. This one's a little sad. The family group chat going quiet.
Oh,
never
fuck
happened.
that. Never.
Never had one. And all good.
Yeah, my kid is too like my kid's too young still, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone's a jerk on my family chat, but I still love it. And I would miss it if it was gone.
Mine goes silent a lot. You know what I do? I do that emoji. It says Bueller. Or question mark. And they're like, oh, she's so annoying.
Mine just doesn't. I have my 2 sons, my daughter-in-law, my ex-husband, the 5 of us, and we're going on the family feud. Let me tell you, I'm going to wait.
Please do.
Wait to see that.
That would be a good one.
That'd be a good one. All right. Turning your child's bedroom into something for you. Freedom.
I'm going here, man. I'm going here.
Oh, I think that's freedom. Yeah.
I believe in it philosophically, but emotionally, I don't like it.
You can't handle it. Dawn's like, nope. She looks like she's going to cry.
Just get a bigger house.
Yeah, exactly. Have enough room for everybody.
You know, for me, like when he left, it was exciting. I thought it was like the new chapter for him, which it was. So I knew he wasn't really going to come back. I knew he was doing his thing. So I was excited for him. I didn't see it coming. There was no way I saw it coming. Yeah. So I was happy to transform and make a whole new life for myself. And then it was, the rest.
If they promise they're never coming back,
they can't promise
it's a different story.
They can't promise that.
Yeah.
But I was going to turn my son's room into a gym, and then I was like, yeah, no, but where my heart goes is like, but where's he gonna, like, if he has no other home to come home to, and I want him to have his space in my home because he doesn't have that in his dad's. So I wanted to have that here for him. So I can't.
Yeah.
Plus it stinks. Totally.
Done. Having weekends.
It can't be anything else besides a shoe repository. That's what it is now forever till the house.
Forever.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Having weekends with absolutely no plans.
Oh, I love those.
Freedom. Freaking out.
What even is that? I've never heard of that.
Because, I really did love doing things with him. He was like he loved to go to the zoo. So we went to the zoo. We did things together. We had a lot of fun together. He left at a very young age. So we were doing a lot of the fun things. So mixed movies, mixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if you gave me a weekend to myself now, I would feel confused or like weird. Like there would be a very literal neurochemical event, right? It wouldn't feel comfortable, but there is something about, that hour at night after everybody the kid is in bed, and I have like an hour that I just own it. It's mine.
Yeah.
It's like really good hour.
It's nice. It's nice.
So like if you expand that to a weekend, like imagine. I do think it would feel odd for a while though. Really odd. Yeah.
All right. And what about your partner suddenly wanting more of your time and attention? Do we like that? Lori?
I don't have an answer because it didn't exist, but I'll say yes
You
to
want it
more
now?
time with my partner.
You guys know I already have a lot of time with my partner because we designed that. So,
I
there's
love that.
And you all know I don't have a partner yet.
Yeah. She's looking for her gym.
I don't need more at the moment, but let's see what happens when I actually have an empty nest. I might absolutely be the partner that does that.
It's kind of exciting.
We shall see.
Kind of exciting. Very interesting. Okay, last one. The first holiday that doesn't feel the same.
That was a hard one. That was hard.
That is hard. That is definitely hard. That's interesting. Do you guys think that empty nesting is harder on moms and dads? I know we talked about it a little bit, but like just these little scenarios, do you think it's harder for them?
It's parenting. Like whoever's the most acclimated to the
would
thing.
I think
would you go back to the chaos if you could?
I think
like if they were all gone, and then would you take it back if you could, like that?
Ask me postmenopausal. I wonder if the answer is different. But
right.
I was diagnosed infertile for a lot of years, and holidays were hard then too.
Yeah, interesting. Wow, I love it. All right. Well, that was good. That was interesting to see how you guys were responding to that one. All right. You listeners, are you navigating the empty nest right now, or are you preparing for it? We would love to hear your story here on Menopause Love Lounge. You can send us a DM or a voice note about what the transition has been like for you, and your experience might be featured in a future episode. We would love to talk about it on here. So thank you guys for revealing all of the things that you did. Juny, I know that was not easy for you. So thank you so much for sharing your story on that. And it sounds like we are all just such great moms. We really are. And I love that. And it comes out in each and every one of us. So very exciting. Anything else to add, ladies, before we sign off from the lounge today?
We will always be momming.
I know. It's the best. That's the best. All right.
I'm just going to add one thing, which is to be a great mom, we need to know how to mother ourselves. Because if we're not taking good care of ourselves, what do we have? We're going to be empty and drained. So, that's an important piece.
Great point.
100%.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. All right, you guys, that is it for the ladies of the Love Lounge this week. We will see you guys next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye.